GLP-1 is a popular injection. You can actually do it yourself at home, and it's just widely available across America now. So I thought, why don't we get a doctor on here to talk through this with us? Is it safe? Is this something that we should be doing? And what are the benefits? What are the downside? Dr. Ben Edwards is a physician who's been practicing for over 20 years. He hosts You're the Cure, which is a wonderful podcast that I have gone through so many of those. I encourage you to hop on there. And he is the founder of Veritas Wellness. Dr. Ben, thank you for being here. And first of all, if you'll explain to the viewers, what exactly is GLP-1?
GLP-1, it stands for glucagon-like peptide. So those are just fancy words. Glucagon is a hormone that your body does produce, and a peptide, glucagon-like peptide. Peptide is just another name for any type of protein in the body. So the body does make basically its own version of this GLP-1 type of hormone. Number one, you can't patent anything that God makes. Anything naturally occurring in nature, you can't put a patent on it. So you have to do a tiny little or a big tweak, take off a molecule, add a molecule onto these natural hormones or peptides so that you can patent it. So that's a little side note. It's not exactly the same, because I've heard some people say, well, Ozempic, which is a GLP-1, there's other brand names. Ozempic's the brand name. These GLP-1 agonists, this is the category or the family. They all fall under this family name. So that's number one. It's not natural. They have to do a little synthetic tweak to it. So it's very similar, but that's the first red flag. Anytime you make a little molecular tweak to a naturally occurring hormone or peptide or protein, there's the potential for a problem right there. Because the way these natural hormones, and a great example, I don't want to go off on this rabbit hole, but like Premarin, which a lot of women took back in the day, that's horse estrogen. Pregnant mares, they collected their estrogen. So think of hormones. I've got a key right here to my front office door. I mean, a key has a cut to it. There's a real specific cut. Everybody knows that. It fits just your keyhole for that particular door. This won't fit and unlock any other door. Even though these other keys look similar, there's a little bit different. It's the same in the body. Hormones or keys, or that these proteins have a certain shape. So insulin's a hormone, vitamin D is a hormone, estrogen, of course, progesterone, testosterone, glucagon-like peptides, glucagon, and all these different metabolic hormones. Well, they fit perfectly like a key into a keyhole when the natural key, the God-given version of estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, GLP-1s, they fit perfect. When you put a synthetic that has a little tweak, a different molecule on it, or like horse estrogen for Premarin, it fits somewhat, but part of it doesn't fit just right. And it's that imperfect fit that can lead to problems. And on the Premarin, it can lead to more blood clots, heart attacks, and breast cancer. So I don't like that. Now, I do like bioidentical estrogen. The bioidentical means it's the exact same estrogen, exact same fit. Well, so these GLP-1s, number one, they have a tweak, molecular tweak, so there's an imperfect fit. Number two, the dosing, the quantity. When your body naturally makes GLP or glucagon-like peptides, it is a very, very small amount. And these injections is a very, very big amount. It's not the exact same key, and it's definitely not at the dose or the quantity that your body would make. So we have to be real careful with this marketing that says these are more natural. They're not exactly.
This is a synthetic version
Of a natural thing your body makes, yeah.
So right off the bat,
That's a red flag, is potentially. Without knowing anything else about it, I'm already questioning, wait a minute. Secondly, when you put food into your mouth, and actually before you put the food in, when you start that process, thinking about it and then putting the food in the mouth or the drink, start chewing, you're initiating a cascade, a multi-complex cascade of different hormones. And insulin's, the most popular one. but there's one called leptin. There's another one called ghrelin. And all these hormones act together in a symphony, an orchestra. And there's probably some those two I just mentioned, leptin and ghrelin, those are pretty new discoveries. Like when I was in med school 20 years ago, we didn't even know about those. So are there some other ones that we don't know about? Guaranteed there are. And how do they all interplay? So it's a complex mechanism, as everything in the body is. And as doctors and scientists do so well, I'll put well in quotes, we're good at doing this, but the outcomes aren't necessarily great. We get in there, we think we figured this thing out, this puzzle of this mystery of metabolism and digestion of food and all this, and we go in there and start to micromanage it and manipulate it a little bit or a lot, and there's disastrous outcomes. This symphony of hormones released when you start to chew and just think of food, and then when you swallow and that food hits your stomach, it's just this beautiful mechanism. Now, what messes that up are a number of things. Number one, when you eat processed food full of chemicals, especially the chemicals that are put in the food to make you want more, these addictive food chemicals. The addiction scientists from the tobacco industry got transferred over to the food industry, and they put chemicals in the food to make you want more, just like with the cigarette. Nicotine's actually not addictive, and the scientists figured this out, and that's been well documented by Yale and all kinds of different publications. It's the chemicals they added to it to make it addictive. And same in the food. Food shouldn't be addictive, but they've added stuff to it. So processed food with all the additives to make it addictive, and high fructose corn syrup in particular, it just rockets your blood sugar up. So that's number one. We're putting the wrong stuff in. That starts to mess up this symphony and orchestrated hormone blend. When you're stressed, you go fight or flight mode. You hear about fight or flight all the time. We forget about rest and digest. That's the parasympathetic, we call it the vagal nerve tone. We need that good parasympathetic because that helps you excrete stomach acid and some of these other hormones. So being stressed, eating on the go, eating processed food-like substances that aren't food, it's a combination of things that cause our normal digestive processes and the metabolic processes, all these hormones, to be dysregulated. We go in there with a man-made idea of, I'm going to give a high dose of a GLP-1 agonist, basically a type of key into this receptor that's going to tell you you're full, quit eating. And there's other things it does. It causes insulin to go up and glucagon to go down and these other, so it has an effect on other hormones with the end result of, yeah, you're going to lose some weight. There is no doubt about it. I mean, that's obvious. That's why it's such the craze. You are going to drop weight. And I do want to say I have sympathy. I mean, I have clients, I have patients, and some of these folks, they're my friends. They love Jesus. They love natural health. They've tried lots of things, diets, and yo-yoed up and down. I mean, one lady in particular I'm thinking of, young lady, can't get pregnant. She's got insulin resistance, PCOS, infertility, multiple miscarriages. And I have a lot of compassion, and I don't want to just, come out so hardcore on this is poison. Who in the world? You're crazy for doing this. I understand why people are doing it. They're frustrated. They want to they just don't want to fit into a bikini necessarily. They want to just be healthy. So I get it. I mean, I know these, and ladies in particular, that have tried lots of diets. So I don't want anyone to feel condemned or shamed or whatever. And I even know some folks have seen results. Like I know a lady who did get pregnant. She lost 30 pounds. Her insulin resistance went away. Her diabetes went away. She saw results. She got pregnant. I mean, so I get that. I'm not saying you're not going to see the results. That's the whole problem with our healthcare system in general. I mean, if you have acid reflux every night, you're in pain. I can give you some Nexium and you're going to be better tomorrow. There's no doubt. And you'll sleep all night. You'll feel better the next day and you'll have a better day tomorrow and there'll be a smile on your face. I get it. Your blood pressure is 200 over 120 and you have a raging headache and you're about to have a stroke. We can give you a pharmaceutical and get that down today and you'll feel better and you'll decrease your risk of stroke. So we got to be careful about this short-sighted, narrow goal of symptom relief. I mean, there's a time and place for symptom relief, but let's go deeper because here's what happens. The side effect profile on Ozempic and all the GLP-1s is so significant, most people can't stay on it long term. And there's a study I was looking at, 2/3 of the people that stopped it within 12 months gained their weight right back. And a big problem is the way these hormones interact, and the way when you put a high dose GLP-1 like Ozempic in the body, it sucks your muscle. I mean, it just destroys the muscle. You're losing some fat, but you're losing a lot of muscle. And people, you've probably heard Ozempic face. There's actually, I've seen Ozempic butt and Ozempic, I mean, all these different features of the body. You're just losing so much muscle mass. It's actually called sarcopenia. And if you've seen a cancer patient, kind of end stage cancer patient, when they look like skin and bones, because that they are, they have sucked all their muscle down to nothing. Well, muscle is an organ of longevity. This is well documented. If you maintain muscle mass, your chances of living to be 90 without Alzheimer's and cancer and dying from infectious disease like COVID and flu goes way up. It's one of our primary goals for our folks. After you kind of hit middle age, you've got to maintain muscle mass. And so that muscle mass is indicative for long-term health. And the GLP-1s destroy the muscle mass. There's lots of other side effects. So that is just, to me, long-term, knowing you're not going to be able to stay on this, the weight's most likely coming back, and you definitely have lost a lot of muscle. That's disastrous for long-term health. I'm not for it, like everything else. Short-term fix, long-term, you're actually less healthy. Health span curve and lifespan curve probably diminished.
One of the exciting things to me is because I have a program that people go through for 3 months where it's taking habit change bit by bit so that it's not overwhelming. And I have people come to me and they're like, I have tried everything.
Yep.
I cannot lose weight, but they lose weight in my program because
Yep.
they are slowly adopting these changes. They're not overwhelming and they don't feel restricted. It's basically the same thing I've heard you talk about over and over again with how we should eat.
Mm-hmm.
So there are healthy alternatives, but if someone is doing this GLP-1, like are they hooked up to this injection forever? If they want to stay in that weight loss, at that maintain once they get to the weight that they want to be at.
Yes, if they don't, at some point, go deeper into root causes. And I'm not saying that's easy. A lot of these are blind spots. A lot of times, I have the same clients will say, I've tried it all. And then I'll start asking some specific questions. Well, no, I didn't even know that impacted weight. And no, I didn't know that either. So there's still a lack of knowledge. We like sunshine. That's Dr. Jack Kruse and the whole sunshine mitochondria connection. And a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people, they have sleep apnea at night. They don't know that. Their airway collapses a little at night. They don't get good oxygenation all night long. That'll shut your metabolism down. There's lots of things that sometimes people don't think about. So yeah, basically they're hooked up to it forever. But here's the problem is most people can't stay on it. The side effects, and in one study I read, the majority of people had to get off of it just based off the side effect profile. So the odds of you being able to stay on that forever, and even just financially, I mean, the cost of that thing is outrageous. But side effect wise, most people won't be able to stay on it long term. So at some point, you're going to have to get to the root if you want to really deal with this.
Wouldn't it be better to do that in the beginning and skip the whole thing?
Yes, ma'am. And that is exactly why we started our wellness education platform. And we encourage everyone to find a good health coach, because every single symptom actually that people walk into my clinic for, if they would have gotten the truth and started making these changes in their diet, their lifestyle, their thinking, they actually don't need the doctor. And that's our whole goal. You are the cure. Your body your body knows how to keep weight at the level it wants it. Your body knows how to keep acid out of the throat, to keep blood pressure down, blood sugar down, and fertility up, and sleep good, and all the things. And we need support. We need encouragement. Walk with people through that. But yeah, absolutely. Yep. Do it first.
People don't realize that, and we've lost that art to tune in. The body shows on the outside what's going on the inside. I know when I didn't feel good, it took a long time for me to realize that this wasn't normal. What? Yeah. When I look back, I'm like, when this was happening, why did it take so long for that? If you don't feel good, it's the body telling you there's something wrong and we need to fix it. Will you just share? I mean, I know we can't go through everything, but just a few healthier alternatives that work, just to give some people hope.
And I mean, this is tricky because, like I said, you take that shot. I mean, people know you're going to lose quick. So when you hear healthy alternative, don't be thinking, oh, I'll just take berberine and I'm going to see the exact same thing in that time frame. Probably not. Although there's plenty of patients. I just had one yesterday tell me, and he's not a patient, he's in our wellness program only. He caught me in the hallway. Been talking to one of our health coaches, lost 18 pounds in his first month, and his heartburn went away, his blood pressure is normal. I mean, all the time we hear that. So we see that a lot, but there are kind of the slower, the non-responders are, yeah, I did that too 3 years ago when I went on keto, but now the weight's back and I can't lose no matter what I do. So the alternatives, I don't want people to think it's just a simple flip to this one thing and boom, you're going to lose that much weight. Probably not. So I like to approach it more like you do, more holistically, because really what's the root cause of your metabolism not working? Because that's what we really have to focus on. Your carburetors is what's taking that food energy, running it down the electron transport chain to make your cellular energy. So when you can't process this food through your carburetor properly to make cellular energy, then that energy backs up and it's got to be stored, and it's stored as fat. So that's the real problem. So you kind of need to try to interview and pray and discern and try to figure out if you can identify the one or two things that most likely is damaging your carburetor. Okay, then that's your alternative. Go work on those two things. And there are, it's like a checklist. If you took your car to the mechanic and it's not tuned up, he knows the things to look for to tune that thing up. So it's almost like a checklist of carburetor tune-up. So that's really should be the focus. But if someone's going to try to kind of force a natural kind of micromanagement, there is kind of three things. I mentioned one, berberine, and berberine is a plant-based herbal product, and it interacts with your metabolic pathways in a way that's very beneficial, kind of cleans up that carburetor in a way. It sounds crazy, but that vagus nerve I was talking about runs from the brain to the gut, and actually a lot of information goes from the gut to the brain. It's a two-way street there. But we want that signaling from the brain to the gut to be parasympathetic dominant, because when you're parasympathetic, that's the rest and digest, as opposed to sympathetic stress, fight or flight. If you can engage parasympathetic, that's very, very beneficial for the digestion. Another potential beneficial thing that you could sort of do in a pill is a particular probiotic, Akkermansia, A-K-K-E-R, Mansia, M-A-N-S-I-A, I believe. This is a particular species of bacteria that can regulate your metabolic pathways. Not exactly like Ozempic, but it really supports that metabolism. And then, of course, eating food that is prebiotic rich, and mostly that's going to be the fibers found in vegetables. So Akkermansia, encouragement of that bacteria to grow in the gut. Parasympathetic, you can actually do exercises that turn on that parasympathetic vagal nerve. It sounds crazy, but gargling, gagging, like put a tongue depressor in there, singing, splash cold water in your face, walking in nature, sunshine, grounding, animals, hold the hand of a loved one. There's different, techniques they've studied that actually engage that parasympathetic. But, these are things that all together are going to, move that metabolic process in the right way. But that's such a intricate system that, just sitting all day is going to diminish that system. Not maintaining the muscle mass is going to diminish. Those carburetors I'm talking about, 80% of them are in your skeletal muscle. And if you're past 40, your skeletal muscle is just declining every year if you're not purposely engaging it and putting a load on it. Sunshine, Dr. Jack Kruse, who, if you go look him up, if you've never heard of him, he's a brilliant guy. I don't think he's a believer. He's kind of got a potty mouth, so be careful there if you're sensitive to that. But the science that he points to, he was pushing 300 pounds and he yo-yo diet, off and on. He's a neurosurgeon, and he was walking up 3 or 4 steps to get up to the platform and the stage to give a medical lecture at a conference, and he blew his meniscus. just from his weight. And he got so fed up with it and all the diet, and he'd done them all. He decided to study this mitochondria, the metabolism, weight gain, and all this. And where he landed was sunshine. He's pretty much a sun god worshiper now. And he literally, these blue lights coming off tablets, screens, phones, smart TVs, computers, all that goes through the optic nerve and interacts with your metabolic pathways. So he's all about sunshine. Watch the sun rise, watch the sun set, be in the sun as much as you can all day. The keyholes I was talking about, there's actually keyholes in your carburetor for sunlight photons, because light is both a wave and a particle. The particles are called photons, and those photons absorb through the skin, through the eyeball, and interact in your carburetors, click into their keyholes and stimulate that carburetor. So it's really a multifaceted, holistic approach to get your carburetors back to where they used to be. And what I like to remind my clients and patients is go look back in photographs, black and white photographs from the 1950s, 1940s, 1930s. Look at, sorority and fraternity photographs at any college. Look at type in beach photography, 1940s, 1950s, or any World War II, or just any old photos. Everybody was trim. So it can be done. This is all a new modern problem. And granted, yes, it's difficult, especially in America, because it's go, go, go. Our culture, it is get up before sun with an alarm clock instead of naturally awaken with sunrise. It's stress hormones going from the moment you step out of bed. It is look at my phone first thing, blue light, rush, 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 get the kids to school, sit in the car while you drive to work, sit in your office chair all day long, sit in the couch all night long. You're throwing food in on the go. That food doesn't even have nutrients in it. It's all a recipe for carburetor dysfunction.
But the exciting thing is when you plug these things in, you feel so good. And I think a lot of people don't realize how bad they feel.
Yeah.
So who doesn't want to get outside in the sunshine and feel that on their skin? And when we're walking around in nature, I mean, this feels amazing. That's why people go hiking. They just don't do it enough.
Yep.
We just have to do more of it. And you start taking these steps intentionally, make them consistent, you start to crave that.
Yeah.
But you have to get started.
One of the hidden things, because I have folks who will come in and they'll run the checklist. I'm eating real food. I'm getting good mineralization. I've got good gut flora. All my symptoms are going away. I actually feel better. I know I'm sleeping good. I've got good oxygen because I got a little Oura ring and it tells me. And like they're doing all the things, the resistance training. I'm not sitting for more than an hour. They're doing it. They're looking at the sunrise every morning. An underlying thing is if you flip sympathetic, that fight or flight, that underlying weight of something, discontentment, not at ease, just that inner turmoil kind of feeling like things are just out of resonance, out of frequency. That tuning fork is like not tuned the right way. This is an energetic thing related to peace and joy versus not. And you get that underlying sympathetic, that's the fight or flight stress, versus parasympathetic. So think of first gear, second gear. You should shift gears for that to come back down and not be rev so high. But if you keep that thing in first gear and you're putting the pedal to the metal and that your RPMs are redline, it doesn't matter that you put in the most awesome synthetic, highest quality, expensive synthetic motor oil, the most expensive gas, and that you told the oil change guy to put the coolest, most expensive air filter and fuel filter and oil filter and all. I mean, you can put all the most organic, perfect, high dollar, everything, but it goes into a system that's staying in first gear and you're redlining it all day long. One of the effects of that red line, because that's cortisol. Cortisol shuts your carburetor down and you will not be able to utilize that fuel and therefore lose the weight. They're in sympathetic dominance, and this is a deeper thing going into more identity work and more what do you really believe about God and self. And there's lies that we believe where ultimately we don't trust God. And honestly, we'd see ourselves in a way that's not the truth. I mean, if you're a people pleaser or a performance-minded, I've got to find my value, love, and acceptance by everyone liking me and by high performance first place and everything. Well, that's rooted in, say, alive, I'm rejected, for an example. You know, if we see ourselves as rejected, that lens, everything's coming through that lens. Every conversation with your spouse, your parents, your kids, your friends, your coworkers, every piece of news you consume, every podcast you hear, every book you read, everything's coming through that lens. You autopilot make decisions. And then you try to like fix all the circumstances. Well, that's even heavier. I'm going to try to do this and this to stress management stuff. Well, if you don't clear up that lie, that identity level lie, you'll be on the hamster wheels and working so hard to try to keep your life stress free. And that's a huge one. Huge.
One of the most important things I ever learned was my identity in Christ. Because when that lines up and you know who you are, it just breaks all the rest of that down.
You are designed perfectly. But we're the intersection of physical design and spiritual design. There's physical laws and spiritual laws, and we're this intersection of both. We're not just physical cells put together to make tissues and organs in the whole human body. We are that, but we're also this energetic part. So believe the truth. Talk to God about it. He's big enough to handle it. He already knows what anyways. So expressing the truth of what's in your heart, whatever you're mad about, whatever you're sad about, whatever you can't trust him, he didn't show up, you let me down here, whatever. That's got to come out of you. You've got to have an honest confession out of your heart. And then the truth will come and set you free.
That's what he tells us in his word.
Yep. Amen.
And it's the most exciting. And, it was one of the things which I will link in the description below other videos that we have, because we do go a little bit deeper into some of this. And then I have the new one out with Nicole, and we are talking about this exact thing and how you think and how that applies, and the truth sets you free.
We're here on this earth not to live forever, not to try to live to 100, not to whatever. No, we are here to shine our Father's character and nature, which is self-sacrificial love, is a part of that. But that character and nature of our Father, our Creator, shine through us into the world. Love God, love our neighbor like we love ourselves. It's all about this love thing, Jesus said. Everything else falls into place.
Right.
And to do that fully, we got to get down to these root lies, these false identities that drive our thinking and our heart beliefs, and that naturally impacts the physical. I mean, there's no way to separate this thing. And that's what medical school does. Medical school separates. I mean, they only hardly talk about this invisible realm, the spiritual quantum stuff. It's all physical molecules, Darwinian, Newtonian, evolutionary biology-based education in medical school. But then they take it further and they separate and divide the body out. We get taught in school the systems, the neurologic system, the gastrointestinal system. If your joints hurt, you see the orthopedist. If your head hurts, you see the neurologist. Your gut hurts, you see the gastroenterologist. That's partly why we get the worst outcomes. The United States is the sickest. More of our babies die, more of our mamas die. All of us die younger than any other country. We're dead last place in every health category. So we're utilizing this quote unquote healthcare system the most and spending a ton of money, going bankrupt, really doing it. For what? To move the needle where? Backwards, to get the worst outcomes, to die younger than anyone.
It's not working.
Yeah. So Ozempic just falls into that category in my mind. It's just the same old thing. That's insanity definition, doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different outcome. No. And we don't need to wait 5, 6, 7, 10 years to see the full side effect profile. I mean, there's one study, 162 people already died, and that was when it first came out. I don't know what the current is. I mean, gastroparesis, that's paralysis of the gut. It slows your entire gut down. We've seen 3 cases of permanent gastroparesis from that. This one guy was in the ICU getting hydration and nutrition directly into his vein because his gut was shut down. Increased suicide rate, increased pancreatitis, increased thyroid cancer, kidney cancer. I mean, there's a whole list. So we're just going to wait so long to see, wow, this is way more damaging, and they pull it off the market. Is that going to happen? Or are they going to leave it on the market and just say, kind of minimize these side effects? I don't know. But it's another scheme of the enemy to keep us bound up in bondage, chasing a symptom and not getting to the root of things. So that's my biggest beef with it. It's just this big old carrot out there to keep us distracted.
Mhm.
And then we have plenty of other things distracting us. We don't need
No
another one.
kidding. Well, it's just like you said, this isn't meant for judgment. This isn't made to make you feel bad if this is something that you're choosing. But if you're like me, I want to make decisions based on education. I want to know what I'm getting myself into, and then I can decide. And if I still decide to do it, that's your business. But at least you have something to go by because, in my opinion, most of these things they're presented to us, they're FDA approved. We don't even know what lies behind that, and we just go do it. So now we can decide and know there are risks because I think a lot of people don't even know that. They don't even
Yep.
think about that. And I just think it's fair. You know, we all know if you're going to go and eat McDonald's, it's bad for you, yet we still do it. That you get to do that. And that's a wonderful thing. We get to choose, but you're choosing based on information. So
Yep.
I just think that's fair. But between the two of us, we have, and of course it's very different, but you have a lot of resources right here to help you through this. And Veritas Wellness, in fact, I'm getting my blood work done. I'm excited on February 12th, and I'm going to have that read through Veritas Wellness. And I just want to see, hey, how's the health coach doing? And kind of explore what's going on there. And I'm going to share that with all of you as well. I also have my programs myself that you can go through just to learn small habit change to help you heal. And I'm not just about losing weight. In fact, that's kind of secondary. I am more about giving you the tools to help you learn how to eat healthy, think healthy, prevent disease, all that kind of wonderful stuff. But also get on there on the You're the Cure because I have listened to so many of those podcasts. There's just so much amazing information in there. And a lot of these are free tools. So Veritas Wellness, it does cost $35 a month to be a member, but what's $35 when it comes to healing and just learning all this amazing information? So Dr. Ben, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to kind of break this down for us. I appreciate it. And the viewers do too. And is there anything else that you want to say before we close?
Well, mainly just thank you. Thanks for having me on the show. I love being here and love spreading the
Yes,
truth. And I'm all about informed consent. I'm with you.
absolutely.
Gather your information, get educated, get all the things out there on the table, and then go make your decision.
Exactly.
And you know that we're all life is just all about decisions we make, and then a lot of times we learn from our mistakes, and hopefully we do. I know I have,
But
but
then we can help others.
yeah,
And hopefully
exactly.
they don't have to make them because we help them not. And we give them that great information.
Yep.
Well, I want to thank you guys so much for being here. And if you would please share this information with people that you know would benefit from it, that need to hear it, or that would enjoy hearing it, that helps my platform grow. And also, I have an anxiety program. I'll put the information in the description below. It's open right now just for another week. And it's going through all of the steps to help you overcome anxiety. It is biblically based. What does God have to say? And those are the tips that I share with you. And we are going through food. We're going through mindset. We are going through activity that is needing to be taken place. And just like we were talking about that parasympathetic nervous system, how do we shift into that? So you can check that out in the description below. You guys have a great day. And again, thank you so much for being here.